I'm your host, Trevor, as usual. Just out taking a walk. It's a little cold. It's raining a little bit. But wanted to do the Niners podcast from home, but I thought, no, I'm going to get out, take a walk, and do the podcast from here. Talk a little bit about what's going on with the trade of Debo and the state of the 49ers, because I've heard a lot of chatter on the radio, a lot of chatter in ESPN and all over social media, basically. There goes a car. And the truth is, they're not doing as bad as people would like to say. There's rumors of a Brandon Ayuk trade, and maybe that happens. I don't know. It's possible. That's heating up right now. But what I can tell you about Debo is that he was a guy who kind of was a plug-and-play guy. And when you're a plug-and-play guy like that on the Niners, where they have a lot of their positions kind of shored up at this point, you got your running back in Christian McCaffrey. You've got your wide receivers. You got a couple of rookie wide receivers coming up. Jawan Jennings having an outstanding breakout year last year. And so there's no real fit there for Debo. There really isn't anymore. He didn't even come into the season in shape. Didn't really blow anybody's minds away with his play. So I think losing Debo and that massive contract that he had, remember, that contract, it was massive for his play. He was not really living up to that money. And for the Commanders to take that on, it was a big weight off the Niners' shoulders in a way. So they took a cap hit. Yeah, it's true. But they would have had to release him. If not, they would have had to release him. And they would have taken a huge hit, probably $30, $40 million, I think. And in this way, they're only taking a little bit smaller of a hit. I think it's $20 million. It might be $30. But at least they're not taking the huge total cap hit and they're getting a fifth-round pick. That's fine. Maybe you flip that fifth-round pick and another pick for a trade or something like that. But at the end of the day, this move is a good move because they need to address other areas, not the offense. They have the offensive power. I didn't mention George Kittle either, who at the end of last year was kind of coming out of his shell a little bit. He had been, I would say, I don't think it's his performance. I would say he was underused for most of the season, and I have a lot of criticisms of Kyle Shanahan and how he's calling plays and how he drew up his offense last year, his plays last year. I didn't think as a coach he led this team in the right direction, but there were injuries all over the place, so you couldn't really sit there and criticize that too much. But the bottom line is this. Trading Debo was the right thing to do because you need to sign Brock Purdy. That contract's going to be big, guys. It doesn't really matter what we all think. He's going to probably set the market. So that means you're going to have to lose a couple players here. And you also need offensive linemen to protect that asset now. So the focus doesn't need to be on Debo. I always thought Debo was going to probably not be in a Niner uniform after this last year. And that's what's happening. I mean, it was kind of obvious to see for me. And that's why I do this sports podcast, guys. I do this sports podcast because I want to be realistic. And I want to give realistic expectations of our Bay Area sports teams here, right? And the realistic expectation with Debo was he was out of shape. My guess is that he's kind of peaked already as to how good he's going to be. I really feel that way. And trading him and getting those numbers off the books any way you can was a good idea. I'm not knocking Debo. I love Debo, but, it was time to move on for that if you want this Niner team to continue to be successful and give you, us fans, what we want, which is a team that is contending for a Super Bowl every year. It doesn't always happen that way. It didn't happen last year that way, even though the opportunities were even there at the end of the year. But the bottom line is that you want to get bigger and you want to get better. You want to get younger. You want to get stronger. You want to get faster. And Debo didn't come into training camp or the season in shape, stronger, faster, or bigger in any way, shape, or form, he didn't live up to his expectations. And that's a big reason why probably it was easier to trade him. Thankfully, somebody took on his contract. Because remember, guys, if you think about how much Debo is getting paid every year for his performance, it was a lot. It was a lot. Even though he was a good player, it was still too much. So I would say don't worry about it. The Niners have 11 picks in the draft, I think. 4 in the first 3 rounds. They got the number 11 pick. They've got some money to go out there and pick up another guy, maybe another wide receiver. Would not surprise me if they did that. That's what they're going to have to do now. But there's options out there. There's opportunities out there, guys, for the Niners to replace Debo with somebody of equal or maybe better value at this point. So stay positive. They want to make you think, the media wants to make you think that this Niner team is going directly into a rebuild and that they're not going to be very good, especially if they trade away Brandon Ayuk. But Brandon Ayuk wants to be gone. He's wanted to be gone since last year. He didn't perform well when he was healthy, and then he got injured. So can you replace Brandon Ayuk with another receiver who can give you the same performance he did, alongside Jennings, who had a breakout year? And I think the more you give Jennings the ball, the more you're going to see just how good of a wide receiver he really is. It's not a fluke. He's always been good. He's just never been treated like a number 1 wide receiver. And he's definitely got that potential. So how hard would it be to just go out there and get another wide receiver to play along Jennings? You still have Ricky Parcell, who ended that last year very, very well. He ended last year on a high note. So you got your 3 wide receivers right there, the 3 wide receivers. You got Christian McCaffrey. You've got Kittle. Brock Purdy's got the weapons. He's got the weapons there. So just remember, offense is not going to be the problem this year, guys. The problem's going to lie with the defense and the offensive line. If the offense is not going to be a problem. Well, I take it back. The offense could be a little bit of a problem if Purdy doesn't get time to throw the ball. So where do you go in the draft, and where do you go to try and sign players? Okay, where you go, or where you focus on, is the offensive line and the defensive line. Defensive line being number 1 because Nick Bosa is needing help, or for whatever reason is underperforming, in my opinion, if you watch him the last few years. So Nick Bosa needs some help with pressuring the quarterback. That's number 1. Number 2 is that the offensive line needs help too. Dominic Puni was an amazing standout rookie offensive lineman that the Niners basically struck gold with somehow. So he's going to be the future in that offensive line. But you need more. You need more, right? So I'm looking at the Niners, and I'm thinking they got to pick up at least 1 or 2 more starting offensive linemen that can protect your quarterback. So those are 3 picks right there. And by the way, offensive linemen, you can get a quality offensive lineman deep into the first round, into the second round of the draft. It can be done. It can be done. So that's why you focus on the defensive line first, because you need a pass rusher. That's important. So if in the draft they address those 2 issues, or via free agency or trade, then you're looking at a defense that is going to be upgraded significantly, and you're looking at an offense that will go ahead and go out there and perform like you want them to. Myles Garrett's out there and wants to be traded still. What would it take to get him? I don't know how many first-round draft picks it would take. I would give it to them for Myles Garrett, because that would basically solidify your defense right there. So you do that via trade, and then you take whatever draft picks you have left. So let's say you go out and try and get Myles Garrett, and you give Cleveland your number 11 overall pick in this year's draft, and 2 future first-round draft picks, and I don't know, maybe that 5th-round pick that you just accumulated, or another player, maybe, I don't know who it would be. But so you go and you do that, right? But you keep at least your 2nd-round pick in this draft to go get yourself another offensive lineman. So then you've addressed the defensive line and you've addressed the offensive line at that point somewhat. You still need to go out there and make a trade probably for another starting offensive lineman, I believe, or pick up one in free agency, which would be even better. That's probably better because you really don't want to trade anybody right now. So you pick up another offensive lineman in free agency. So now you've got 2 offensive linemen coming in. You still have Williams. You still have Pooney. And now you've got an offensive line that can really protect Brock Purdy because you've just paid them all this money. And he's the future of the 49ers quarterbacking. 49ers for the quarterback position. So there you go. Then the Niners need to focus on other things like special teams and cornerbacks. Cornerbacks are a little bit of an issue, but might be able to address a cornerback in the free agency market, possibly. But if not, just addressing the offensive defensive line will make them a million times better. Remember, guys, they were hurt so badly in every aspect of the game last year that next year, with their schedule being, remember, their schedule is one of the easiest schedules next year in the league. So think of it this way. They're going to be better because their schedule is going to be easier. They're going to be better because they're not going to be nearly as hurt as they were last year. Christian McCaffrey will be back, ready to rock. I keep hearing people say he's not going to be the same Christian McCaffrey. That's bullshit. The bottom line is that Christian McCaffrey, with today's modern medicine and surgery technology and everything, you could say Christian McCaffrey will be what he always was before. I don't think he's going to lose a step. Look at Steph Curry. Anybody who is a Warrior fan will know when they drafted Steph Curry that basically he was twisting his ankles left and right, had to have surgery, and he became one of the greatest players of our time, and he didn't lose too much of a step on that, did he? No. You know why? Because this isn't like it was before when it comes to medical technology. So Christian McCaffrey will be ready to roll. Okay? You have still your other offensive weapons. Guys, so really what it comes down to is protecting your quarterback, giving him time to throw the football, and on the defensive side, attacking the quarterback and getting a pass rush going, because there was 0 pass rush this last year. That's where it's at. The Niners are going to be good. The Niners are going to win 10 games next year, guys. Maybe more. As is right now, I can't say how good they're going to be because that pass rush, that's a big problem. They need to address that first and foremost. So let's see what moves they make, but it's early. But don't let the local media, sports broadcasters, anybody out there just trying to come up with a subject or crap to talk about for the day to get you to listen. It's absolutely ridiculous every time I hear it. It's just coming up with stuff to throw against the wall. Shit to throw against the wall to see if it sticks, guys. And the bottom line is it never does. Because the bottom line is you as a fan, if you like the sport you're watching, in this case football, and you watch the 49ers every single week, week in and week out, for the last 2 or 3 years, let's just say, then you can get a feeling for what's needed. You can get a feeling for where they should go. It's not rocket science. It's not just you. If you take the emotion out of being a Bay Area sports fan, which it's hard for me to do sometimes because I am a homer. I am not creating this sportscast for people outside the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm creating it for the people in the San Francisco Bay Area because those are the teams I love, those are the teams I focus on, and those are the teams that I know about. So I can take the emotion out of it sometimes, a lot of times, and look at it from an intelligent point and say to myself, was Deebo Samuel worth the money, and was he making this 49er team better? Did he do that last year? No, he didn't, guys. So trading him and getting those numbers off the books was a very, very big deal because he was making too much money, and I don't know how many teams would want to take on that salary. And they got the Commanders to do it. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a good chance the Commanders are getting fool's gold with that. Because you don't pay for what the player was. You play for what the player is. The player is, okay? The only time only time you pay a player for what he was is if he's Steph Curry or Joe Montana or Jerry Rice, somebody who you want that person to retire in that uniform, and they've earned that respect, and they've earned that they've earned their legacy there. Okay, so that's when it's worth giving those players, the money to stay, because they've earned it. Steph Curry built a brand new stadium for the Warriors. Who else did that? Would they have a new stadium in San Francisco if not for Steph Curry? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They'd still be stuck losing games in Oakland. So that's when it matters. But if you love the team, you can't necessarily attach yourself to the players. You have to think about what's best for the team. And what's best for the 49ers right now is to drop dead weight. And that's what Deebo Samuel, I wouldn't call him dead weight because that's not fair. That's a little bit overstatement. It's much of an overstatement. But, he was not worth the money, guys. So it was a good move. It was a good move. The Niners are going to be good. They're going to be an awesome team next year. Give them time to make the moves they need to upgrade at those positions I just talked about for the last 15 minutes. But it'll happen. It'll happen. It's not a bad managed organization. Do they make bad decisions sometimes? Sure. Okay. So like if you're going to trade Brandon Ayuk now, we can talk a little bit about that. If you're going to trade Brandon Ayuk now, you should have traded him when you could have got more value from him last year before the injury, right? So that was a miss. That was probably a miss. And even last season, if you watch my podcast in the off season during training camp, I was talking about how just let him go. Let him go or sign him, but get it done, And you go back and watch my podcast, you can see. I didn't like the way Brandon Ayuk handled that whole situation, and he still got the money, and then he played like complete shit and then got hurt. So Brandon Ayuk is really handling things in a bad way. And now I don't know if he's requesting to be traded or if the Niners are just wanting to get cut bait because he's hurt, and who knows if he's going to come back strong or not. I mean, maybe it's maybe it's both of those things, but again, you can replace him with another wide receiver out there, and you're going to get similar production. Compared to last year, you'll get better production. He was good at one point. He was a good route runner. He's not particularly fast, so he wasn't running away from anybody when he caught the ball, but he's an excellent route runner. He ran routes maybe like Jerry Rice did. I don't know if he was as good, but he was pretty damn close to that. The problem was he didn't have the speed. And so coming off this injury, is he going to be even slower? Is he going to be able to run those routes? Maybe the Niners are thinking, we got to move off this guy because of the injury. I don't think that we'd be talking about a Brandon Ayuk trade if the injury hadn't happened. So it's possible he gets moved. But that doesn't mean the Niners are worse off, guys, because he didn't play for half the season last year. And the Niners started to play a little bit better. You know who made a difference? Greenlaw. That's a guy, you want to talk about a player that the Niners should sign, 100% make a priority, it's Dre Greenlaw. If they let him go in free agency, that would be difficult. That'd be tough. Because when you saw him come back from that injury last year, the defense was impacted immediately. They were impacted immediately. The team got a million times better, guys. A million times better. So that's where you got to look at what they need to focus their money and time onto. Now, how much he's asking for, that's also tough because Greenlaw gets injured. So it's tough to decide how much he is worth and how much you want to pay him. But what I will say is that he clearly makes an impact when he's in. So if he can stay healthy, there's no doubt you need to pay him what he is worth. Or what he's probably asking. So anyway, guys, keep listening to the podcast. This is the Niners podcast, outside taking a walk and just thinking about things. And hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm live now. I'm going to go live a lot more often just because it's faster and easier to talk about these things as they come up. But again, Deebo Samuel's gone. Not a big deal. Brandon Ayuk gone. Might hurt a tiny bit depending on his recovery, but it might not at all if he wasn't really going to make it back on time anyway, which maybe that's what the Niners are thinking. And just go get defensive linemen that can pass, can rush the passer and get some quarterback sacks. Go get some offensive linemen to protect your quarterback asset you're about to pay. And maybe just make your special teams a little bit better if you could. They got tasks to do. It's not like they only have one or two things to do, but they're all doable, guys. They're all moves and upgrades that are doable right now. So they can do that before the season starts. No big deal. I really believe that. So give it time. Give it patience. Don't get frustrated. We all love Deebo, but it is time for him to go. Take your emotion out of it and look at it for what it is. The guy didn't have a spot on this team. Not really. He was just plug and play. Just remember that. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent don't work. So, I'll be out here talking to you, working for you. Let's hope the Niners work for us. And I'll see you in the next one. Next Monday, we'll do another Niner video. See where we're at. See if we got a trade. See if we picked anybody up. Maybe nothing's happened. We'll see. In between, we'll be talking Warriors basketball. Warriors won last night. Another great win. They're on fire right now. Absolutely on fire. Their schedule gets pretty easy this month, so I see how they can move up in the rankings just a little bit. They're in the number 6 seed now, so officially in a playoff spot. Not a play-in spot, but officially in a playoff spot. I think the 6 seed's where they're going to be. I really do. They may drop to 7 depending on if the Clippers catch fire, but the Warriors are absolutely on fire right now. They're one of the best teams in the NBA with Jimmy Butler. I think the addition of Jimmy Butler, that makes the Warriors a different team. Makes them a dangerous team. I don't think they're going to drop off and start losing games like they did earlier in the season. I think they're going to continue to excel into the playoffs. So I still think the number 6 seed is where they get, unless the Rockets start to drop off, which could happen too. The Rockets, I think, are about 5 games ahead of the Warriors. But again, that's not a lot. There's 20 games left, 21 games left, I think. I guess when you look at it that way, it'd be tough to catch the Rockets unless they go on a losing streak. But anything can happen. I do think the 6th seed is the Warriors to lose, though, at this point. So anyway, see you in the next one, guys. Have a good one. Have a great day at work. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking. What are we going to talk about tomorrow? Well, tomorrow is supposed to be Warriors talk. So we'll talk tomorrow about the Warriors. And then Thursday or Friday, rather, we'll do a little bit of Giants talk, see where we're at with the San Francisco Giants. Kind of feel like right now with the Giants, there's a lot of missed opportunities again to improve the team. But let's talk about what they have improved the team a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit about what the Giants are doing going into spring training. And we'll go from there. So see you in the next one, guys. Have a good one.